The coffee machine is always full, and there's more cookies than is probably reasonable for an office of this size. But beyond those things, the work culture here is really great. There's a lot of people who have been here for 40 years. Tons of them. They're everywhere. I have never been anywhere else within this cleared community where you have such a dedicated, stable workforce.
Welcome to Security Cleared Jobs, Who's Hiring and How, the podcast for cleared professionals looking for new opportunities and career advice. We go behind the scenes with recruiters and hiring managers from leading cleared employers to uncover the information you need to make a smart career move. Get ready for insights from this week's guest and your hosts, Kathleen Smith and Rachel Bozeman.
Happy New Year, everyone. Woohoo! This is Kathleen, and welcome to another year of podcasts. And as always, I love starting the day off saying, hello, Rachel. Welcome to 2025.
Hello, Kathleen. And could we be any more excited that it is 2025? The only thing more exciting than a fresh year with fresh opportunities is a fresh guest. So don't make us wait any longer, Kathleen. Who's here today?
Joining us today to kick off 2025 is April Martinez, Associate Director of Resource Management for AT&T Public Sector. April, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, ladies. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are so excited that you are here today, April. And we like to start out the show kind of at the very beginning. A little birdie told me that you started out your journey as an Arabic linguist in the Army. And now you're the Associate Director of Resource Management at AT&T Public Sector. How in the heck did that happen? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
My life is one big accident. And so we'll just start there. No, the military was wonderful. I had the honor and the privilege of serving in the U.S. Army. When my duty assignment was over, I got out of the military and I was like, like everybody else, I'm like, what am I going to do with myself now? Like, what do I do? Everything else, including like my sock color, was decided for me, in the military. And so now I have to make all these decisions. And so I just stayed in sort of the intelligence community, right? That's kind of where I grew up in my formative years. And so I just stayed in that community, and I've done pretty much almost every job you can do in the IC, from technical to management. If it's a job in here, I've probably done it or been around it. And so a lot of experience, and I just sort of evolved, I guess, into this role over time. And I love it. I get to work with military people leaving the military, all kinds of different government people and agencies. And certainly the people here at AT&T have really been a real joy to work with and have leveraged that broad experience, I think, better than anybody else so far.
Love it. And thank you for your service. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start there.
My pleasure.
Now I have an important question for you. And it's the recruiter in me. It's that talent acquisition person. But you're in resource management. So tell me a little bit about kind of how does that work with the talent acquisition team there at AT&T?
Sure. So we're a created organization here, not typical like you would see TA or talent acquisition. We bridge the gap between talent acquisition and all of our various vendors and the various programs that we have, right? We see all of the need in a more holistic way versus a lot of recruiters, they get the thing, they specialize. Like we see a lot of recruiters, they have a specialty, right? Some are security, some are networks or, executives. And because you know the language, the people, you've got good connection. And our job is to take our broad knowledge and help recruiters get people into good areas where maybe they might not know. So you see a person and they're like me, they've done a million different things, like where is the best fit? How can you leverage that? That's our job. How to get them where they can be best utilized, best career opportunities, those kinds of things.
So April, AT&T is just a well-known name. And, that was the phone service that I had growing up. And any time when I was in college, I got to use AT&T to call home, talk to my family. It's always had a special place in my heart. But you do a different aspect of AT&T. So can you sort of educate us all on what does AT&T Public Sector do and what type of work do you do in the cleared community?
Short answer, it's not cell phones, right? But really on the public sector, we really focus on what AT&T is well known for, which is networks. We have a large network. You see the commercials all the time about how AT&T's network is great. And most of our public sector work is built on that same platform. So we do a lot of network engineering, design, support, maintenance, upgrade, bring, some of these government agencies into the modern age. We leverage our strengths in this space so that we can really bring value. We do other tangential things with that, the administrative stuff that comes with that, the administration, finance people and contracts people and legal people, as we talked earlier, just to try to bring all of that stuff together. But our core business is really the communications infrastructure for all of these agencies.
Very cool. Thank you for kind of pulling back those layers a little bit, helping us all understand exactly how that fits into the larger AT&T namesake there. So with that, you mentioned some of the different aspects and the different parts that you're working there in the public sector, but could you tell us a little bit more about the security cleared positions or the job title specifically that you're typically hiring for?
Sure. So we have anything from public trust all the way up to the highest levels of clearance, depending on location and customer, et cetera. As far as jobs, going back to what I had said previously, you'll see a lot of network engineering, architecture, NOC, administration, maintenance for all of the various customers, but you'll see other things in there as well. We'll do some systems engineering, Linux. You'll have project managers and finance people to support all of those things. And all of those things will come with different clearance levels depending on need and program.
So you mentioned it, but I'm going to dig in a little bit deeper because something that's obviously very important to a lot of folks is location. So
Sure.
Where are these positions typically located?
So the majority of the work that we have is going to be in the DMV area. If you think about it, that's where the majority of the government is. And so we go where the work is really, but there'll be some things in different areas out west. There's a couple of locations and down south and everything like that. But the bulk is in the DMV area, which I know traffic, and we're all going to get into those wonderful discussions about, I don't want to do that commute or this commute, et cetera. We're all kind of territorial about our driving.
So yes, traffic around here. I mean, we all love having the government agencies all close by, but then so many of us work there that we all get together on the Beltway at the same time. It's a little challenging. So since most of the positions that I understand you're looking for are full scope polys and infrastructure based, I'm assuming that most of your work is on site?
Almost all of the work is on site. There'll be some work that is in our AT&T facilities, but yeah, you're going to be on site with the customers in Beltway traffic with everybody else. There's just no getting around it.
And another favorite topic of everyone is sort of transfer of security clearances. And as anyone in the community knows, we have the Maryland customer and we have the Virginia customer, and each agency has their different polygraphs, but then we have polygraphs at other agencies as well. And I know transferring from one agency to the other, I think this is one thing that a lot of job seekers don't understand, that if you have a polygraph from a Maryland customer and you're transferring to a Virginia customer, it's not a quick switch. So can you talk that through, sort of remind our audience what the timelines are and what's the difficulties with that?
There's so many variables that go into this. It's going to be which agency, which poly, how current are you? What was the readout? How long have you been in access? How long since they looked at you the last time, right? Sometimes that's forever and you're thankful, and then you go to move and you realize that you shouldn't be thankful because now they're going to look at you again. Know where you stand, right? Know when was the last time your case was reviewed, where your poly is it current, what was the readout? And that's going to help you better position yourself when you're looking to cross from one agency to the other. So you'll have a better understanding of how difficult it might be or how time consuming. I will say a general trend, not 100%, so nobody come back and screaming at me, is moving from Maryland to Virginia is generally a faster process versus moving from Virginia to Maryland.
Awesome. That's wonderful. And I'm actually going to throw in a question that none of us are prepared for. So it was released a month or two ago that the GSA are now saying that for the big federal IT contracts, they're doing away with the degree requirements based on if people have the appropriate work experience and skills. So I was wondering what your thoughts are on that. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? What should job seekers who may not have a degree but have the work experience do as far as their resumes and their applications?
It's a great question, and I have an opinion about everything. So my first thoughts are is that this is a wonderful shift from the perspective as it really does give more opportunity for people who are maybe more hands-on and they just got out of school, out of high school, and they just started working with their hands because they like it, right? They just started networking. They've grown up in that, or whatever the software development, right? We see a lot of gamers and those kinds of folks who are really into the software side, and they have wonderful skills, but they didn't go to college to get a software degree, but they're very fluid. They're very versatile in their skill set. So I think this will open up the doors as far as opportunity for a lot of people who are maybe stuck in the I'm not really a college person kind of a mentality where they've just been working and they've accumulated that knowledge. So what I would say from a resume perspective is if you're in that situation, really highlight on your resume that practical skills that you do have, right? We generally see, you ladies know this, right? We'll see a resume and at the very top, it's got, your degree and the certifications and all of the wonderful things. With this shift, I would say you'll start to see where the actual practicals are going to take precedence maybe over your degree.
It's exciting. I think it does kind of level out the landscape a little bit.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
I will be happy when we actually start to see it move from a statement into actual everyday usage, right? So I haven't seen any of the contracts come back and modify the requirements yet to make that really a feasible option for folks. We do see occasionally where, certain programs will have the flexibility years versus degree, but it's so variable that I think it will be wonderful if we can actually start to see this play out in real terms versus just in a statement.
For sure.
I would think that this would really benefit transitioning veterans because not every person in the military has a college degree.
I agree. This was part of the challenge that I had as a military person transitioning, right? Is I have all of this experience and then you go and you look on a job board and you're like, yeah, I don't have the degree though, because I've been working. So I think it would be good for the military. I think just speaking from my own personal experience and people that I know, the transition is difficult for military people. It is a challenge to just take all of that and put it into the workplace. So anything we can do to help them with that, I think is a huge blessing.
So now that I've taken us off track, I'm going to push it back over to Rachel because I think she has one or two questions she'd like to ask.
I do know that was such a great conversation. I think we could spend all day. Well, April, I do have another question for you. And you kind of touched on it earlier. And we were just talking a little bit about the SCIFs. And I heard y'all do SCIFs just maybe a tad bit different than some of the on-site agencies, maybe some of the different government SCIFs. So I heard maybe they're just a smidge nicer. Tell us more.
They are nicer. I was just trying to think of a nice way to say it, and I couldn't come up with words. No, they're nicer. So AT&T does. We do maintain our own SCIFs, which many companies do. But we've here at AT&T really invested a lot of time and resources to make the office environment, including the SCIF, not beige, right? It's got colors. It's more open. It's a much more friendly environment than you would think in your traditional government SCIF. That's really nice. There's great amenities here. AT&T really does a very, very good job about trying to take care of their people and the environment that we are in on a daily basis.
Nice to hear that the government gray is not prevalent.
It's out of style here at AT&T.
That's great to hear because, it really clashes with a lot of things.
No, we're blue. We go with blues and lovely grays and different colors. Yeah. AT&T blue is everywhere here.
So you talked about how you like to color things up. Expand that a little bit more. And what's the company culture like at AT&T and who would thrive there?
So the company culture here is very important to AT&T. There's a lot of time and energy spent on creating a really welcoming work office environment. Especially since the COVID days, everybody is very intent on making sure that if you have to be here, if you are in the office, whether you're in the SCIF or just the regular spaces, that it's not a burden, right? That it's pleasant. You know, the coffee machine is always full. There's the hot cocoa frother thing. It's amazing. And there's more cookies than is probably reasonable for an office of this size. But beyond those things, the work culture here is really great. AT&T is very stable. I think you touched on it earlier, Kathleen, right? Just everybody knows this company. It's been around for a really long time and has had some interaction with it in their daily life. And so if you come to work here, you'll get a sense of that. There's a lot of people who have been here for 40 years. Tons of them. They're everywhere. I have never been anywhere else within this cleared community where you have such a dedicated, stable workforce. Most of us are so used to seeing people move. If you're there somewhere 5 years, it's, oh my gosh, you've been here 5 years. That's amazing. But here, until you get to like your 15th year, you're still kind of considered new. I'm going on 10 years and I'm still kind of new, So there's a lot of stability here. There's a lot of consistency here. And that stability really lends itself to kind of a calmness, right? It's not frantic. It's not, moving all the time, people changing all of the time. And it does create kind of a sense of longevity, tenure almost. We have a lot of effort here to really bring up the young generation, right? We have a lot of internships here and apprenticeships to really grow young, new technical talent. So there's a lot of drive here to really bring up good young people.
Well, and kind of speaking about that, investing in the younger generation, those type of things, and folks that have 30, 40-year careers with AT&T, it sounds like this is probably a really good culture for referrals. And so tell us a little bit about how you're utilizing the referral program for those existing employees to bring in that new talent that they can really mentor and coach and help make great future 30, 40-year-old employees.
I know some people are going, oh my gosh, 30 years in the same place. I couldn't do it.
They must not have heard the cookies.
Yeah, the cookies. I mean, that's really why I stay. Yeah, I love the cookies here. But so we do a lot of referrals here. I would say for anybody who is interested in coming to AT&T, one of the main things that I have seen just being here now for a while is the benefits that we have. That is our major referral point. Like if somebody's going to talk about anything about AT&T and working here, it is really the benefits that we have here. They're phenomenal. I mean, they're really, really an amazing benefit package. And so our referral program is kind of not exciting. It's not a whole lot of money. It's not, $20,000 and it's woohoo. It's not that. But once you get people to look at AT&T and not think cell phone, they'll just come here and stay because it is so focused on the people. Every benefit that we have is really about care for the people here at AT&T, for parental leave, wellness for your family, like being able to take time to take care of your family. It's really important here that you take care of yourself, right? There's a lot of resources for work-life balance, and the whole culture here is centered on that. We don't get a rollover PTO, so I know people in this space are going to be like, oh my gosh, what if I want to roll over my PTO? You're not going to do that here. There's no exception. You're not going to do it because the goal is on your vacation to please take your time off.
Yeah, there's always different opinions on everything. So
Yes.
we could discuss it at length, and everyone's going to have a different opinion. Just like some people like cats, some people like dogs. Some of us like hedgehogs,
and some people do reptiles, which I just don't.
I had a college roommate who had a python, and I still have nightmares about that one. So let's reach back to your experience 10 years ago, transitioning from the military. You want to give some advice for our transitioning military folks?
Sure. Get some help on your resume to really help translate your skills, if they're not an exact match, which they're not likely to be, right? Really to translate that into language that is more on the industry side. Take it from the military, your MOS or whatever it is that you've got, and translate that into industry standard language. Talk to a recruiter. They really know what that language is. Have them help you get your resume formatted and put in a way that shows the skills that you have. That's going to be the most critical thing. A lot of companies, AT&T included, have a robust program in place to really help bring on military people, to get them back into the workforce, right? We really spend a lot of time and energy, and this is a priority for a lot of us, including AT&T. The way you can help us help you is to really get that translation done. And then I would say, understand your clearance situation, because not everybody in the military has the same level or the same anything. So really understand where you are on the clearance side. And then understand what your transition window is. We see a lot of people, and you ladies will really understand this, that come to the job fair and they're transitioning in 2 weeks. That's very hard to transition smoothly. You get all of the things moved over and really make sure you have a really solid landing place. You really want to start 3 to 6 months out your job search, right? Talking to people, figuring out what the roles are, where you stand on a clearance side, right? Talk to a company, have them check you out, see what your transition time is going to be. That's going to help your transition, your family's transition go so much smoother for everybody.
So we're going to wrap this up because we had some really, really great conversation here. So how may our listeners get in touch with you?
So I would say if you're interested in a job at AT&T, go to the AT&T careers page. There is a segment for government. So you can click on that. You can do all of the searching based on your clearance level, geographic function that you want to do. If you want to talk to me personally, you can email me at am083a@att.com. Cleared pool.
Awesome. Thank you. We've just had a great time, haven't we?
So much fun. But I do have to ask one question because I've been dying to know. So I know that y'all aren't the wireless side, but are you getting the discounts on the wireless service?
There are wonderful, again, our benefits are amazing. And yes, as employees, you do get really good benefits on your wireless services, along with a number of other things. So yes, if you do come here, yes, it is an option for you.
You heard it here first, folks. So many great opportunities. And it was an absolute pleasure, April. Thanks for spending a little time with us.
Of course.
Thanks for sharing a little bit more about AT&T and all of the great careers. And thank y'all for listening.
Yep. Thanks, ladies. It's been a pleasure.
April was such a fun interview. I love that we got to talk about sort of real life experiences and also this change that we're seeing in the community about people's work experience over college degrees. So I thought that was a great addition to the interview. What did you like?
No, I thought that was fantastic and so timely and so appropriate to really kind of dig into that. But something else that I really appreciate about the conversation, it's not something maybe directly that April said, but kind of inferred throughout the conversation, was just her journey. I loved how she said, when she left the Army, they even picked out her sock color and then had to make all these big decisions. And it was the willingness to try different things and find that right fit and do all of those different things throughout her career to land her where she's at today. And I just thought that was inspiring and encouraging because it can be overwhelming when you're transitioning out, like, what do I do now? But give it a try. Just go in eyes wide open, and what's the worst that could happen? You might end up loving it.
Or wearing salmon socks.
There's worse things.
A little pop of color. A little pop.
Just adds a little something. A little lanyap in your life is what we like to call it. You know what? Let's start the new year off on the right foot. That means if you haven't already done so, get out there and follow. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Off to our furry creatures.